Welcome to the Homestead. We get so many requests for homestead kitchen cooking videos, and this is going to be one. So I hope you're excited if you've been waiting for that. Today I'm going to make broccoli cheddar soup, but I will give you a little caveat. This is going to be way more than that. I don't cook from a recipe normally, and if you're interested why, you can see the link for the video below, and I will talk about why I prefer not to have to cook from a recipe, if at all possible. So watch that video if you're curious why. But I'm going to get into this soup, and first of all, I am going to give you a kind of like what I would say is a formula, instead of a recipe, a formula for broccoli cheddar soup. But that formula is going to give you a whole lot more options. So if you don't want to make broccoli cheddar that day, you could make cream of mushroom with this recipe formula. You could make cream of chicken soup. You could make a mock Alfredo sauce with it and put it over noodles. Add in some chicken, you've got chicken Alfredo. You can make so many things with this formula. So instead of a recipe, this is going to be a formula for a cream-based sauce. And this is really one of my favorite sauces that I really like. All right, first off, you really want to have some stock, whether it's beef, chicken, whether it's vegetable. Turkey is really nice. This is, I believe, beef stock. Now, don't shoot me, but I never labeled my jar. So I'm thinking it's beef, and we'll see. Maybe I'll smell it when I open it and see what it actually is. You should always label your canning jars. However, I didn't do this one, so just for me. Okay, so I'm gonna open this jar and I'm gonna put it in my pot. This is gonna be the base for my broccoli cheddar soup. Okay, so I smelled it. It's definitely beef stock. This is a quart, so you want to start with a quart of stock, whatever kind you have. Don't go out and buy special ingredients. The point of this is to cook with what you have, and so whatever you have is what you're going to make. I always have this on hand, and then I always have some cream cheese or Neufchâtel cheese. I really like the Neufchâtel cheese because it's a little bit less calories, so we can eat more. So I'm gonna start with that. Those two ingredients are gonna be the base of my cream sauce. Okay, I always wanna put garlic and onion in anything. I feel like garlic and onion is just another layer of flavor. So you got your beef stock or whatever stock you're using that provides that amazing flavor, and then you've got the garlic and onion. And I mean, you just really have to put garlic and onion in anything for good flavor. Okay, so I'm pretty reasonable at chopping things, but you know, if you are really in a hurry and you don't want to chop all of your garlic and your onion, boy, man, that's a strong one. Anyway, if you don't want to chop all your garlic and onion, don't be afraid. You can do the cheater method. Onion and garlic powder. I would probably use a tablespoon of garlic powder and then maybe twice as much onion. If that seems like a lot to you, cut down on it. You can always put more in. You know, you can't take it out, but you can always put more in. I generally don't measure anything, so I'll just use a spoon and sprinkle it in. But seriously, I mean, if you don't have time, this soup could come together in less than 10 minutes. And it would still be a pretty healthy version compared to opening that can, and actually tastes a lot better too. These cloves are pretty small, so I'm using a lot of them. At this point, again, if I was trying to save on time, I'd grab a whole bulb of garlic and start breaking off the cloves from the outside, because the cloves on the outside of the garlic are always bigger than the ones inside. So sometimes it depends on how big the cloves are on the inside, whether I even use them or not, if they're worth it. Okay, so everything I have in my pot now is just the stock, the cream cheese or Neufchâtel cheese, whatever you like, and onion and garlic, those 4 things. And those are gonna be the base for my soup. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this to a boil. Obviously, the onion and garlic have to cook. If you are short on time, garlic powder, onion powder works pretty well, so you can use that instead. While I'm waiting for this to cook, I just want to talk about why I think that this is a really cool base to learn. All right, you'll see in a minute after I've got my stuff going and it's coming to a boil that I'm going to add my broccoli to cook and then the cheese, and then it's going to be broccoli cheddar soup. But like I alluded to in the beginning, there's so many things you can do with this. You could even put this over, you can make it into some kind of a meat gravy. Zach loves biscuits and gravy, so this is my recipe for biscuits and gravy. I would add some kind of meat, maybe some of my flavored venison, ground up venison. I would flavor that like sausage. I put that in here for meat gravy, put it over some biscuits. You could make corn chowder with it. You could open a can of corn and put that in, drain it and put that in. You could have corn chowder. You can make cream of mushroom soup. You can make cream of potato. You could also, like I had said in the beginning, make Cheddar's Alfredo sauce. Like seriously, like this is a go-to recipe you can make a lot of different things with, and so you can shorten your time in the kitchen by just learning one base recipe that can be broadened into a lot of different things. I like to chop my florets pretty small so they cook more quickly, but broccoli does tend to cook quickly, so I want to make sure that my onions and my garlic are good before I put my broccoli in. Now, if you didn't have much time, you could do the Cheddar's method. You could just buy a bag of frozen broccoli. There's nothing wrong with frozen broccoli. Zach tends to really prefer fresh vegetables, but I have snuck some frozen broccoli into broccoli cheddar soup before and he didn't say anything about it, so. The other thing I didn't point out is that if you are going to use this soup for some kind of a base for like a pasta sauce or like the biscuits and gravy that I described, I really would thicken it. So you could do that with some cornstarch or with some flour, depending on what you like for your diet. Or like maybe you're doing a keto type gravy, I would add in like probably another cube of the cream cheese. That would make it thicker. And then some of the dry, the jar of Parmesan cheese, that would definitely make it thicker if you were trying to do some kind of a low carb gravy. Okay, so I'm gonna let this boil until the onions are tender. Also in the boiling process, some of the moisture is evaporating, so the soup is going to be able to reduce, but you're still gonna have all of the flavor from your stock. So it's gonna boil for a little bit longer, but you can see that, it is a cream soup already. So I wouldn't even need to add cheese to this. And again, I probably wouldn't if I was making something like cream of chicken soup. I wouldn't add the cheddar in. But it's all depending on what you like, what your taste is. Okay, so my onions are tender, and so I am going to put in the broccoli. Now at this point, this is my base. So now I'm gonna turn it into broccoli cheddar. I'm gonna cook the broccoli just a little bit so it gets a little bit tender before I put the cheese in. The reason I do that is that I don't have to watch it and stir it quite as much. Once I put the cheese in, it'll be more likely to stick on the bottom, so I'm just gonna put the cheese in at the end after the broccoli is pretty much cooked. And broccoli does not have to cook that long. I'll probably cook this for about 5 minutes, maybe less. If you're not used to cooking broccoli, I would definitely use a fork to see how tender it is, because it can go soft really, really quickly. So just make sure you don't overcook it. My broccoli is done. I'm gonna add the cheese and stir it in while it melts. This is just 8 ounces of sharp cheddar. So I'm just stirring this in until all of the cubes melt. And the cheese is gonna help thicken the soup. But I'm also gonna put in another ingredient just for health reasons. It will help thicken the soup a little bit too, but I really like to use nutritional yeast if I'm making a cheese soup. Now, if I was doing like making this into a cream soup, I probably wouldn't, but the nutritional yeast goes really well with a sharp cheddar taste. So I'm gonna put that in. It provides a lot of B vitamins, a lot of some extra protein, plus I feel like it's also a good immune booster, antiviral, antibacterial, which my family really needs this time of year. I bought this nutritional yeast from our Mennonite pantry that breaks down bulk food, so they'll buy a big shipment in bulk and then break it down in smaller portions so that you can buy a smaller portion, but you could get this at any, I think you probably could even get it at Walmart, but definitely any health food store or some kind of a natural food store. And I'm just gonna put in 1/4 cup, so this would be like 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna use 2 of those. But you can go by your taste. If you want more or less, whatever. And a little salt and pepper to taste. Okay, so that's it. It's all done, broccoli cheddar soup. But what I really hope that you take away from this video is that if you learn the simple base, you can make so many other things and you don't always have to rely on a recipe, because honestly, relying on a recipe all the time just takes more work. But if you take the initial work to learn just a base recipe, then it takes half the work away, and then you can just add in whatever you have on hand, and then you'll have dinner. Leave a comment and maybe give me some ideas of what you might use this formula for. I would love to hear your ideas. See you next time on the Homestead.